The ACLU and the National Police Accountability Project reached a settlement in a lawsuit against Kansas. The lawsuit was filed on behalf of people waiting at Larned State Hospital for evaluation.
One man was held for over 2 years waiting for a competency evaluation for a 6-month sentence. 12 News reporter Cale Chapman spoke with an NPAP representative and the state about how this settlement will change our state hospitals.
We're much worse.
The Kansas ACLU and National Police Accountability Project suing Kansas over wait times for competency services at Larned State Hospital, where some patients wait years for competency evaluations.
31 months, 32 months. That's not really something you're seeing in other states. Other states that have acknowledged their delays and said that they need to make improvements are something closer to 7 or 6 months.
In the settlement, Larned State Hospital will reopen 30 beds that were previously unavailable because of staffing shortages. And the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services is committing to launching pilot programs with counties and their courts, expanding mobile competency services, and opening the Sedgwick County State Psychiatric Hospital in Wichita to reduce wait times at Larned. The state legislature has already expanded the Wichita Hospital from its original 52 beds, doubling it in size to 104.
There's been a need, and that's why we're opening the facility here in Wichita.
Right now, the state is spending millions of dollars to keep Larned staffing up with out-of-state contract workers. Representative Henry Helgerson says a long-term plan needs to be put together to solve the hospital's staffing shortages.
We can't staff it. We have to hire outside nursing care to come in and live there temporarily and pay them 2, 3, 4 times what the market is normally, in order to just deal with the emergencies.
In Wichita, Cale Chapman, 12 News.
Members of the legislature, including Representative Helgerson, are meeting with the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services about the state hospitals Monday. Lawmakers working on a task force to address staffing problems at those Kansas state hospitals.